Hi and welcome to our How to Make a Successful UCAS Application presentation. Today we're going to be looking specifically at UCAS Apply 2021. Just to start with, a little bit about me. My name is David Handy. I'm Senior Student Recruitment Manager at Newman University. Prior to this, I spent 15 years in a secondary school setting. I was head of sixth form, head of careers, and a range of other roles. So I've got a lot of experience of guiding and advising students as they begin to make applications to universities. If you've got any questions about this session today, or indeed anything about the university application process, then do feel free to drop me an email. My email address is here, d.handy@newman.ac.uk, and I look forward to hearing from some of you after you viewing this video. So today we're going to cover an overview of the UCAS application process. We're going to look at how to choose a course in the university. I'm going to give you quite a detailed walkthrough of that UCAS application form using UCAS Apply 2021. I'm going to give you some best practice for writing your personal statements, and I'm going to talk about your next steps as well. So first of all, an overview of the application process. You'll be making your registration with UCAS. So if you're looking to apply for September 2021, okay, that is live from May 2020. You'll be able to do that. Go on to ucas.com and I'll talk you through how to do that in a moment. Although you can't actually send your applications until September 2020. I should add, when you register, if you are part of a school or college, I would make sure you speak to your head of sixth form or careers advisor first, because they may be able to give you what they call a buzzword. A buzzword links your application through to that institution. It means they can upload your reference. And importantly, it means they can give you some advice and support as you're completing that application. If perhaps you're returning to learning and you're not currently attached to a school or college, you can register as an individual and you put in details for the person that you would like to provide your reference. So you've got up to 5 choices you put on that UCAS application form. In terms of dates for sending this, if you're looking at Oxbridge, if you're looking at medicine, veterinary or dentistry, then those applications need to be sent by the 15th of October. For anything else, then you'll be looking at the 15th of January. That is the deadline for what they call equal consideration. Okay, up to that point, universities have to consider all applications. Those of you in schools and colleges, again, please listen to your internal deadlines, because it may well be that they ask them to be completed somewhat sooner in order to make sure that they've checked your application and to attach it at your reference. Once your application has been sent over, universities will make conditional offers. So we may ask for certain grades or a certain amount of UCAS points. There may be unconditional offers, perhaps if you've already been in learning and you've got your level 3 qualifications. Could be an alternative offer of a course if perhaps we don't think you're quite suitable for the course you originally applied for, but we have another course we believe to be suitable, or in some cases, sadly, we may have to decline you. After that, you'll be making firm and insurance choices. So your firm choice should be the university that you really want to attend, and the entry requirements should be realistic compared to perhaps your predicted grades if you're very much working on those conditional offers. Your insurance choice should be a university and a course that you're happy with going to, but I would always recommend a slightly lower tariff entry. Okay, that's really important, because if you're not going to get into your firm choice, really you want to be able to go to your insurance. If you get no offers back or you choose to reject all your offers, you go into a system called UCAS Extra, which opens in February every year. With the UCAS Extra system, you can apply through UCAS Track to a university on an individual basis. So let's say you're looking at psychology courses, you could come to us at Newman and say, would you consider me? We have a look. If we say yes, brilliant, you're in based upon our conditions. Otherwise, you have to go back into that pool and go to another institution and ask the same question through UCAS Track. You get your results traditionally in August. At that point, we'll be confirming you onto your courses, fingers crossed, if you've met the terms of the offer. Otherwise, clearing is an option. So with clearing, it helps students who are not yet placed find universities and courses that do have some vacancies. Okay, it's a very competitive marketplace. So certainly, if you don't achieve the grades on that results day in August, all is not lost. Okay, clearing is there, and us as universities, we're there to very much help and support you through that process. In terms of the research process, I know many of you will have already started that. But when we think about what subject or course we want to study at university, think about what is it you enjoy, what is it that you're good at, and perhaps as well, what have you got experience in? If you can tick all three of those, then I think that's definitely something that you want to be doing further exploration of. And how are you going to explore that? Well, we have UCAS Hub, where you can do some research there through UCAS course search, and indeed, of course, the university websites where you can view our course guides, our prospectuses as well, full of information. There's videos, and I would encourage you to be engaging with those. When we think about type of course, you could do a single honours degree, so that's where you'll do one subject area and lots of different units, within that subject. If you were to study, let's say, history at Newman maybe wouldn't be the same as a history program elsewhere. Okay, it's very much based upon the lecturer's specialism. So it's important that you look around and find the course and the content that's right for you. A joint honours program, okay, this is where you'll do two subjects together. So, for instance, psychology combined with perhaps childhood studies, where you do about 50% of both those subjects. Sandwich programs, some of you may have heard of those. Unfortunately, they're not courses in sandwich making. You would spend year 1 and 2 in university as normal. Year 3 would be you'd be out the whole year on a work placement. Year 4, you would be back in university completing that undergraduate degree program. Now at Newman, we have work placements for all undergraduate programs that take place during year 2. Okay, and you'll find out more information from that from our careers team. We have foundation pathways. There's two different routes here. I'd like to explain these to you. So you have your foundation year and a foundation degree. So a foundation year is when perhaps maybe you haven't quite got the entry requirements to move on to the normal undergraduate program, and you'll spend a year building up your skills before hopefully moving on to that and progressing on to the undergraduate program. Whereas a foundation degree, okay, that is the equivalent of level 4 and level 5, which are the first 2 years of a normal undergraduate program. At Newman, we offer a small number of those foundation degrees. I know some of you may be at college, perhaps doing those foundation programs. We offer top-ups in some of our subject areas, and you'll find information on that indeed on our website. And when we think about where to study, you could be choosing to stay local to home. You could be perhaps moving away somewhere throughout the United Kingdom, or indeed perhaps you might be even going to study abroad. So I'm going to talk now about UCAS Apply 2021. So if you go on the UCAS website, ucas.com, okay, you'll become very familiar with that site over the course of the next few months. Click on the sign in hyperlink, which is in the top right hand corner. Click Students, Undergraduate and 2021 Apply. Okay, this is the screen that you'll see every time that you go to log in to apply. Normally you'd put your username and password in, but on this first instance, of course, you're not going to have that. So you need to click the register button. There are some self-explanatory screens to start with, end user agreements and so on and so forth. But then when you get to the actual main part here, putting your details in, please remember this is an application, okay? So capital letters for your names, your address, make that really good impression with your application. Now, once you've moved your way through all those, it will give you a username. It'll be the only time that it will hand over this information to you. So do make a note of it, take a screenshot, put it in your phone, however it is that you record these things. If you do lose that, you can pick up the phone to UCAS and answer your security questions, and they would be able to answer that for you. So from there, we're going to log in, and this is the home screen that you'll see every time that you've logged in. So you'll see at the top there your personal ID number, and that'll be the number that's quoted through all of your communications with your universities and indeed with UCAS. On every screen within UCAS Apply, there'll be a video. So this link is what they call contextual help. So here being the home screen, it'll tell you all about apply. If you were to click that video in, say, the employment section, it'll tell you about the sort of things that you would need to expect there. Do familiarise yourself with all the terminology. The first time you go on, have a look at all the sections. You'll notice here it has a reference section in the left-hand column. This is because our application here is applied as an individual candidate. If you applied through your school or college, just a note for you, you won't see that, okay? The reference will be something that's dealt with by your institution. So what is the personal statement? It's your opportunity to tell us as universities about your suitability for the course, for you to demonstrate your enthusiasm, passion and commitment for the subject, and to really make yourself stand out from the crowd. You've got 4,000 characters or 47 lines, whichever comes first, to evidence that you've researched the course, that you've got good independent study skills, your motivation and commitment and a passion for that subject or the course you're applying for. We want to see that you can write, and we want to see an awareness of things that you know that you're really good at and things that you hope to develop over the course of your studies at university. So how to structure that personal statement? We'd start off with an introduction. Okay, probably I would suggest about 5 lines, maybe 6 lines for that. About the course, if you're currently in studies, I would say take a paragraph for each of the subjects that you're currently studying. Okay, so potentially if you're doing 3A levels or 3 BTECs, that's an extra 3 paragraphs in that about the course section before we talk about other achievements, and indeed before we move on to our conclusion. So the introduction, we want to know the fundamental reasons for you wanting to study that course, why that course subject out of the 50,000 or so courses that are out there, and how did your enthusiasm and interest for that course develop. When we're thinking about the course, we want you to demonstrate your understanding of the course you're applying for. Use buzzwords. If you're talking about the subjects that you're currently studying, okay, highlight buzzwords in them, especially if they relate to the subject you hope to study at degree level. Okay, talk about any further reading or research that you've done. What skills have you got? What are you developing? Okay, it's really important to provide evidence here for that. And I've put here work experience. Now, by work experience, I know not everyone who's watching this presentation is currently in studies. Okay, if you've got some significant amount of work experience, if you spent a few years working, now you're returning to look at higher education, you could indeed address things that you've covered as part of your employment if that's relevant for the course that you're applying for. The next paragraph, we'll think about other achievements. So here where I've put work experiences, I refer more so to the sort that you would do in sixth form or perhaps while you're studying your GCSEs. So to be talking about those. Hobbies and interests that perhaps relevant to the course that you're applying for. Employment, okay, especially where you've got sort of transferable skills, your communication skills, problem solving abilities, that kind of thing that you could link through to what it is you're applying for. If perhaps you take a gap year, you could tell us about that, your motivation for it, and what you hope to complete during that time. Before we move to your conclusion, okay, I would always say try and end with a positive statement. It's really your final chance to impress and to stand out from the crowd. Okay, again, this is probably the last 4 or 5 lines of your statement. So do bear that in mind when you're putting it together. You've got to leave space to be able to sum up everything that you've said. So, in conclusion, on personal statements, some do's and don'ts for you. Do mention your future aspirations. Do get feedback from others, advisors, parents, guardians, friends, even. Write it early and edit it. I would suggest you're going to go through many drafts, probably between 10 and 20. Now, I don't mean 20 complete rewrites. The first few drafts you do, I'm sure there'll be some fairly significant pieces of editing, but as you move later on through this, I imagine it'll be a case of tweaking it, paragraph order, and so on and so forth. If you're going to be called for interview, make sure you've got that statement with you, because I'm sure it will form the basis perhaps for that interview. Some don'ts for you. Humour in personal statements I would always avoid. We all know that perhaps when we send text messages to our friends, things can get lost in that. So do bear that in mind. I would try and keep it fairly to the point. Plagiarism, UCAS check every personal statement. Okay, if there are significant sentences, whole paragraphs, or indeed the whole statement is copied, then that gets flagged to universities, and we're not at liberty to necessarily accept you. So remember, it is a personal statement. We don't want someone else to write it for you. I would also say if you're applying to more than one university, don't just mention the one institution, because on your application we can't see where else you've applied. But if you're talking about another university within your statement, it probably says to us we're not going to be your first choice. Use correct English and be careful of American spellings. Remember, that your spell checker should be set to English United Kingdom. Really important, that one. And a top tip from me to you is to get your draft and sit and read it out loud. Okay, that will come across any grammatical errors if it doesn't read very well. That's a really good way of sort of sorting that out. The statement, I would always suggest preparing it in something like Microsoft Word, and then when you're done with it, copy and paste it into the personal statement section on UCAS Apply. Okay, whilst you've got your 4,000 characters or your 47 lines, just be careful it doesn't chop anything off at the end when you press save. Okay, I have seen that happen a couple of times with students, because for some reason the character count in Microsoft Word doesn't quite match with that in UCAS Apply. Some questions I frequently get asked are, 4,000 characters, how's that made up? That is letters, spaces, anything like that. So I would always suggest writing paragraphs, but do remember that the spaces between the paragraphs will count as well. Your employment section, you can include any employment that you've had here. I know for some of you it may be a case of just Saturday jobs. For others, you may have a more detailed work history, and you can include up to 5 here within this section. It's quite straightforward to fill out. So it's a section that you can probably do quite quickly. Indeed, the application in general, and I should touch upon this, you don't have to sit and do UCAS Apply 2021 all in one go. You can fill out a bit, press save, go away, and then come back a few days later and do the rest. Okay, it's really important. When we think about your education section, this is probably the bit that will take you the longest to fill out on the actual form, other than writing your personal statement. Top tip from me is anything that you've already got qualifications in, dig out your certificates now, okay? Because you're going to need those in able to transpose the information on there about the subjects you studied, the grades, the exam boards onto the form. If you've got those in front of you, really important. If you're currently in study as well, I would encourage you to make sure you've got the exact details of the courses that you're studying to be able to put those in. So on this screen here, you add the schools and colleges that you've got qualifications from. So I know some of you will have done GCSEs to a different centre to maybe where you've done A-levels or BTECs. So you can record up to 10 schools, colleges or centres here. In terms of the qualifications, I would normally start with putting in GCSEs. Some of you will have GCSEs numbered 1 to 9. Some of you will have GCSEs A star to G. Okay, UCAS covers that here, so you can find the different sections and you'll input those grades in. Okay, so for GCSE, there's a complete list of subjects here, so make sure it's the one that matches up with what's on your certificate. The same with the qualification date and organisation and your grade. Now you do that for each of your GCSE subjects, for instance. And indeed, it's the same process when we're entering level 3 qualifications as well. So I'm looking here at A levels, and it'll list every A level you can possibly do. You put your qualification date in. Now, I anticipate many of you won't have actually got your level 3 qualifications at the point of filling this form out. So you put the qualification date of when you expect to get the qualification, you put the awarding body that you'll be getting that from, and the grade, crucial if you haven't yet sat it, is set as pending. That then triggers to your referee that they have to enter a predicted grade. Really important, obviously, many of you out there doing BTECs, make sure you've got the correct title for that BTEC, because there are lots of different BTEC levels on this system. I want to make sure that you don't disadvantage yourself by perhaps putting the wrong one in. Don't forget putting things like extended project and any other qualifications you may have, music exams, Duke of Edinburgh, whack them all in. If you can't find them as part of the drop downs, there is an option other, okay, where you can enter those details. Your choices, obviously the application, you're going to really want to make sure you've got those in. You've got your 5 choices and you can add up to the 5 there. So first of all, you choose your institution. Obviously you're going to choose Newman. So you pick that and you'll see here you've got underlined and highlighted in red Newman University Birmingham. You click that and that will list Newman for that particular course. You then look to choose the course. Now it's really, really straightforward here because it only lists the courses that are offered by that institution. So you click the course that you want to do. Just make sure if there's options of 3 years full-time, 4 years full-time, 1 year full-time, make sure you click the right one. Okay. If in any doubt, consult the university websites or indeed just get in touch with us and our admissions team. We're here to help. Some universities will have more than one campus. Newman, we've just got our one campus in Bartley Green, so you click Newman University. But for others, I appreciate there will be other campus choices. So just click the one that is relevant for where you want to study. Course start date, it will give you the option in UCAS Apply 2021 for September 21 start or indeed to defer for 2022. Okay, so make sure you click the right one there. Indeed, we do get asked this quite a lot, is if you put September 21 start and then you choose to change that later on, just contact the universities, okay, and the admissions teams, they'd be keen to have a chat with you about that. Things like your living arrangements, if you think that you're going to live at home while studying, you can say yes, or you can say no. Okay, so you work your way through here. I would add on every page on UCAS as well, you see there's a little question mark next to each of the things you've got to fill in. That will tell you what it is that it's expecting, okay? This has come on leaps and bounds over the last few years, so it's really, really helpful. And of course, UCAS are there on the end of a phone as well, should you need to speak to them. You then come back to fill out your personal details. Now, some of these you'll have already filled out already earlier on, but there's other things that you need to go back in and complete. If there's a little red asterisk, that means it's a section that's compulsory. I'm just going to highlight a couple of things to you that I found students sometimes trip up over. Nationality, if you've got a passport, stick what's on your passport in there. There's a drop-down list of countries. Area of permanent residence. Okay, people often ask me, what does this mean? This is the sort of council to which your household would or does pay council tax to. Okay, so it might be Birmingham, South Staffordshire, Wolverhampton, Dudley. There's just a few examples for you. If in any doubt, do consult the people that are making those payments for the council tax. They should be able to help you with that. Country of birth, obviously pick the relevant one there. Residential category, again, fill that out. For student support, fee code is normally 02. I would encourage, if you've got not any, if you want someone else to be able to speak to UCAS or to a university on your behalf, there's the nominated access section here. So perhaps a parent or a sibling that you'd feel comfortable with someone being able to speak to UCAS on your behalf. And again, if you've got any disability or additional educational needs, do remember to include those here as well. For every section, you do need to mark it as complete. At the bottom of each of those pages, there's a little box where it says section completed. You need to tick that and press save, otherwise you won't actually be able to send your application. Okay, so make sure that you've done that. Once you've completed all your application, the boxes on the left hand side of the screen here will all have a little red tick in. At that point is when you can press pay and send. Now, the prices for 2021, if you're just applying to a single university for a single course, it's £20. But if you're choosing to apply for up to 5 choices, okay, then that is £26 to cover your application. Okay, if you are applying through a school or college, when you press pay or send, the application doesn't go straight to UCAS. All right, it goes to your UCAS supervisor, who will then upload the reference. Whereas if you're applying as an individual, okay, that application gets sent to UCAS and straight off to the universities. And obviously the reference is added in at that point as well, because you'll put the details for who you want to get that reference from. In terms of next steps, attend open days and applicant visit days. Okay, at the moment you've got loads of virtual offerings. I'm speaking now and it's early summer 2020. I would say through until at least September you're looking at virtual offerings. I'm sure they will continue with the coronavirus situation. Hopefully there'll be some face-to-face opportunities later in the year. Again, keep your eyes open on social media and university websites. Once you've made your application, you'll probably be invited to what we call applicant visit days, where you get to meet the academics and meet the people who may become your classmates. After today, go away, start your UCAS application. Once you get the offers in, perhaps the turn of the year, start replying to your offers. Apply for student finance. That goes live. That'll be February 2021 if you're looking at 2021 courses. And of course, follow any guidance about your current studies that's out there.